Welcome back to another independent showcase down under on the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. You remember that we interviewed the great Andrew Rose last week. We've got some other names coming up this week as well, which I'll get into. But there's with commentators go, there's King and Cole, there was Monsoon and Heenan. And without this man, Andrew Rose doesn't have such a great time on commentary. He is, of course, the one and only Kris Gale. Kris, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. I'm doing very well, Adam, I should say. And I'd like to see myself as the Jesse Ventura to Rose's Gorilla Monsoon.
That's perfect. That is a great analogy there.
Because I'm impressed, Adam, and I don't impress easy.
It is wonderful hearing you guys on commentary. I'll get into that in a minute. But look, Locked in the Cage was the first show of PWA that I personally watched.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was not because I didn't want to. Obviously, over here in the UK, there's time difference, and obviously, generally, I am working, and I was working at the time that PWA done that great. But Charlie Evans had tweeted out that it was on YouTube. So I was great. We're all on YouTube. Watch the show. Fantastic. It was an incredible show. Um, but over the last decade or so, we've seen a massive influx in not only British and European talent getting signed by AEW, WWE, etc. Same with Australia. So talk to us a bit about the Australian scene down there.
Okay, I could give you a very long answer, and I've decided on review not to, but it is a big day because Lena Cross has just secured the AEW Tag Team Championships, and she was recently at one of our shows back in Sydney, Australia. The Australian scene is definitely a burgeoning one, and one which seems to be becoming a genuine supply of talent to the largest promotions in the world, be they AEW, WWE, New Japan, and the like. Why? I feel that after professional wrestling had disappeared from Australian television screens in the 1970s, and all we would get would be the occasional grab from WWF, a little bit on Saturday afternoon shows, like in the UK, you'd have wrestling on a Saturday afternoon with Big Daddy and Giant
Yeah.
Haystacks and whatever. We just get these morsels. And then it wasn't until cable TV got established that we started to more reliably get content. And I think about 15 years ago, a group of people in Australia, in Sydney, we'd be talking about the southwest of Sydney, up in Newcastle, which is north of Sydney. These guys looked at what they were seeing on their cable TV screens and they said, I like me some of that. It's martial art, it's fitness, it's discipline. You are trying not so much to get hurt. You're dressing up, you're telling stories, you can have fun. It's a lifestyle that appealed. So there's a group of, well, I almost refer to them as elders who bootstrapped up the scene, and they started the right way, which I believe is with the training academies. The Pro Wrestling Academy, which is now in Lamia in Sydney, the House of Free Fighting up at Newcastle. And once you train people the right way, and these are elders that people that Rose made reference to last week, like Madison Eagles and Robbie Eagles, people like Jack Bonds and Mick Moretti, Adam Hoffman. Once you train people to be professional wrestlers, you have to wrestle.
Yeah.
And so they looked at the scene and they looked at what professional wrestling was in Australia and said, we need to change that. So before we live streamed, in PWA's case, we went from traditional club venues in the outer suburbs of Sydney and rolled the dice and said, hey, we're going to go inner city. We're going to play, as Rose mentioned, in rock and roll venues. PWA created an over 18s content option, which is Black Label. And most significantly, they doubled and tripled the price to come and see a show. And if you do that, you've then got to be good. And I think that created the movement, which was hashtag you're going to notice us. And that became, along with the other promotions like Melbourne City and Wrestle Rampage and EPW, the beginning of an Australian movement, which is right now at a particularly exciting time.
It really, really is. I mean, not that I was taken aback when I was watching some of the matches. I mean, I had no intention of reviewing. I wanted to watch a show, and as always, I have a pen and paper. Every time I watch a wrestling show, I've got a pen and paper. Generally, I just write down bits and pieces, little bits that I like. And it was after that first match between Brax and Thorpe that I was like, I'm going to have to review this now because it caught me straight off the bat.
Yeah.
The venue, everything about it was like the crowd was electric all night as well, which I think really helped. You guys on commentary really helped. But it was just one of those moments where I got to the end of the first match and I was like, I'm gonna have to jump straight on after this and get on it because I was so enthralled in the action straight away. Which, if you do that to me straight away, I'm locked in, and it
Well,
was
that was what
incredible
was
to see.
that was what was exciting about listening to that review. I mean, thank you. It was complimentary. You said very nice things about me, which makes sense. You said nice things about Rose, so I said I'm not sure that Adam's completely got it right, but there was a spontaneous excitement in you reacting that way, and it was a particular episode where on the YouTube chat and on the X feed we were getting a lot of engagement from internationals, which I think is coming off the back, which what had happened with the AEW tie-in that we
Yeah.
had a few weeks prior, and the announcement of the WWE tryouts. So that's the excitement that we try and convey, and you reacted to that, and that means that we're doing something right, which is very gratifying to hear.
Yeah, it was. It was fantastic. It really, really was. I really enjoyed it. I can't wait till the next one. I think it's in May that we got one
May
coming.
29, Liberty
Yeah.
Hall,
Yeah.
PWA's Black Labels dropped out.
Indeed. Dropouts, by the way. Theme music for me plays a massive part in wrestling,
Yes.
right? I don't care whether you've got lyrics or whether you can sing the lyrics or whether it's just iconic as a glass smash from Stone Cold or the Roman Reigns acoustics, where the music plays and you just know something's going down. There
Yep.
was the dropouts, and I think it was it Shay Mamushe.
Yeah, Mana and Manouche.
That's it, Mano and Manouche, that was it. And the crowd was singing along to it. And it was just like that for me also. Because I always say, and I'm going to ask you these questions in a minute, the same as I did Rose with theme music. But how important was it that you do have wrestlers like that that can, that there is that, even like an MJF who we've just watched a minute or two ago with Hangman.
Yeah.
No music, no lyrics, acoustic, but you know what you're getting. How important is music in Australia to the wrestling as well?
Look, I think it's fundamental. I think I made that reference to being contiguous to rock and roll.
Mm.
So if you're going to put yourself into those venues and then not have high quality video, lights, music, and we've done plenty of crossovers with bands, we've had live performers, then you're selling yourself short. And professional wrestling, we all know the soap opera and the storytelling at the heart, the action as a context for that, but it's experiential. I mean, Rose and I went down to WWE show called Super Showdown in Melbourne in
Yeah.
2018, 70,000 people at the Melbourne Cricket Ground. For me, it was in large measure ticking off the box of actually seeing Taker, right?
Mm.
I think his entrance went for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? And you didn't regret part of it because wrestling, the match is the centerpiece and it has to be great, but it's everything else that provides that. And it's the excitement. I will say about Chelsea Dagger, which is very much the song of the moment in the Dropouts theme. We'll be lamenting it in about 12 months' time in the way that I lament Sweet Caroline being played at every sporting event around the world.
Yeah.
But it's iconic at the moment, and it is sort of, it appeals to everyone, and they've got the interaction. And all these people will say, we did it first. It doesn't matter. It's working right now. And it's actually got national news attention for the Dropouts. We have a rugby league team, the Brisbane Broncos, that use it as a try celebration. But they opened up with the Dropouts, saying these two guys are creating a huge wave in Australian wrestling in part because of the joy. And that, professional wrestling is joy to me, and music conveys it. And I'm a big music guy like Rose, so it's fundamental, I believe.
It is. And it ties into my question that I was going to ask. I did ask Rose at the same time. I'm
Yes.
going to ask you. Your Mount Rushmore of wrestling themes.
Yeah, right. So I cheated, right, because I knew this. I thought this might be coming. And I just tried to get four that occurred to me. The first, look, whatever you think about him, Real American with Hogan.
Yeah.
It takes me back to when I first encountered the WWF as it then was. And if you read Hogan's first autobiography, that song totally fits it. If you read his second autobiography, after certain revelations have been made, it becomes almost a parody song. But you cannot deny, I mentioned Gorilla Monsoon go, oh, the Hulkster, and all of that. That is iconic. The crossover between music and culture more broadly in wrestling, to me, is a bit summed up in the game. Triple H's entrance with Lemmy from Motorhead. A sad week with Phil Campbell from Motorhead passing away. Very sad. I was very lucky to see Motorhead on a couple of occasions. The last one, not long before Lemmy passed away. But it's so identifiably Triple H, and it's crossover. Like, it wasn't just a generic band or a generic theme. It was well, here's the guy. And they ended up having a great personal relationship through it. I will have to go to domestic. Sam Osborne, part of North Shore Wrestling, who I think I might have said on the commentary, people hate things they don't understand. North Shore Wrestling is the paradigm of what professional wrestling should be. And the haters, and I'm looking at you, Andrew Rose, amongst many others, have got it completely wrong. And the Osbornes are a frightening proposition now that Jack has joined his brother Sam. But Sam's solo entrance, where he comes with a cup of coffee, which he'd ask the dinners. And I love an entrance theme that isn't death metal or blazing hip hop, but it was a fantastic R&B pop tune, and it shows the breadth of what can be done. Big Fudge, of course, has a hip hop theme, but opens up with the ice cream van music. And the fourth one I'll shout out is Jessica Troy's former entrance music. I mean, she's slaying it with Von Dutch by Charlie XCX at the moment, but I think it was a bespoke piece called Arm Collector. She's now most known as the Granola Grappler, but previously the Arm Collector because of a Fujiwara armbar submission move. And every time you heard this sort of ding thing, it's Jess, and the way that she enters, and you saw it in the inner cage match with, she's happy, the respectful wipe of the boots, the elation that she shows, and the audience would immediately hear that tune and relate to it, and you could see how powerful local versions of entrance music, and obviously, like all of us, we could go on, but they're four that came to mind.
Yeah, they're perfect. Great four indeed. I wanted to talk. So we mentioned some of the greats we've already said about Ventura and the King and Ross and everyone like that. So I'm going to change the question. I'm going to ask you a question that I didn't ask Rose, actually, because I appreciate you've probably watched the interview. So I've mentioned about Mount Rushmore of wrestling music. What about the Mount Rushmore of wrestling commentators?
Okay. Well, first of all, Andrew Rose. No. Look, when I go back and I used to see the Australian stuff as a boy that was live on television, but that's long lamented and long gone. I really first started to relate to professional wrestling, seeing those WWF grabs on a Saturday afternoon on a show called Wide World of Sport, and I just gravitated to the commentary because of its combination of the excitement of the action and the opportunity for humour. And I mentioned Monsoon and Ventura. I thought they were just such an ideal combination, and they to me are where I automatically go. I think Vince McMahon, again, a complicated individual, but he deserves his props. And yeah, look, Jim Ross and his pomp was absolutely fantastic. And gosh, I'm thinking of the modern commentators. I might give a shout out to Wade Barrett. I think he's made the transition really well. And it's interesting, right? I mean, if you listen to, say, Booker T, who I've got all the time in the world, I was very lucky to see Booker T wrestle. I kind of think he yells too much on NXT. But then I saw him on the Who Killed WCW documentary series, and he was incredibly articulate about what went on. And funny as well. He said, with the finger punch of doom or whatever it was, he goes, all I could think of that was I was going to be the world champion. But I'll go with Monsoon, Ventura, Ross, and shout outs to Jerry Lawler, Vince McMahon as well played, but I'll put Wade Barrett up there again. I'm trying to appeal to the English audience. You might see my James Graham shirt because the great British rugby league player who debuted in a PWA ring back in 2024.
He did indeed. I want to talk about commentary because you could probably go. I can talk for England and everything else, and I've always something I've always wanted to get into. I felt that if you're passionate about something, I love wrestling, I love football, soccer. Me and Rose actually share the same Australian soccer team. Funny enough,
FC. Yeah. Well, I'm an FC fan. I live in the town.
Excellent.
I got a soft spot for it.
Excellent. So that's something that, and I love my darts, so I can sit there. And I can commentate on it. But obviously, look, there's more to it than just calling the action. And you and Rose, it's the first time I've heard you and Rose. And it was, I loved it. The fact that we were calling people pricks and everything. That for me popped me because it's like, you don't really hear that a lot. So there's a bit of a uniqueness to it. But what is it that makes a great commentary pairing?
I just need to say on darts, what I love about darts is 180 when they get the
Yep.
but if they miss, it's 45.
Yeah,
And and
yeah,
the
yeah.
way it's announced as they
Yeah.
failed. Maybe that's what where if we are any good, we've kind of succeeded because perhaps we're hearing things a little bit differently to other people.
Mm.
Um, to to me, the famous Australian cricketer Richie Benaud says, "Don't tell the people what they can see. Like
Yeah.
they're smart. They can see it for themselves." So, but also you've got neophytes and things coming in, so you've got to try and get a blend there. But just simply describing the action, first of all, me particularly, like I don't know the difference between a lariat and a clothesline. And I'm not sure I ever will. And there, you want to know the finishes and because they have interesting names and things like that, and you have to have a basic competency. But I think if you're just describing the action, you're not really augmenting things. And the appeal of commentary is to us, I think, is if it is storytelling, what bits of the story can we tell that may not automatically be evident? So, in the heavyweight championship match between Aaron Jake and Big Fudge, which has been building on a long history of Aaron rejecting Fudge's entreaties to be his best friend. But as soon as Fudge got the championship, Aaron wants to be his best friend.
Yeah.
And he feels that, all right, well, I can challenge you as my best friend because we both want the same thing and it won't affect the friendship. But he walked out onto the stage and he was clearly emotional.
Yeah.
Rose saw that immediately. He absolutely jumped on that. And you've given a framework for people that then the action is contextualized for the rest of it, right? You could see the struggle he was going through. So I think that's where commentary adds value. That's the appeal. And I always say to people, like, calling the action it's got to be exciting. It's why you do it. You love it. But there's great opportunity for humor as well. And so, you mentioned the ability to call, dickheads and wankers. And, Rose said dickhead is a term of affection. Well, I just want to say, hi, Rose, you dickhead. Term of affection. So, yeah.
It
I don't know
is
if that's the
incredible.
right answer, but
No, it's perfect. I love it. I think it's great. And I do love the interaction on commentary because obviously when we're watching it, we're obviously watching the match, but we're also tuning into that commentary side because it's the ability to tell the story at the same time. You've got to basically what's going on in the ring, you've got to convey that to the audience at home in a lot of ways through your word of mouth in a lot of instances. And I think you two, I mean, I've only watched you guys once, so let's wait and see what happens
it's
in
been a
May.
really good night for us, Adam.
Yeah, yeah. It's a great night. It's a great night.
I think I think we're at Rose. Rose was unable to do the previous show the first night at Coliseum, so a local radio announcer who comes to a number of our shows did his debut, and that I thought he did a really good job. But you could tell we were slightly talking over each other. But then we had the opportunity that Kyle Fletcher joined us on commentary, right? And I think I did the right thing, which is I said, Kyle, I don't know anything about moves, mate. So if you want to go in, and so in two matches, the the tag team matches before intermission, and then the four-way involving Mark Davis, his former teammate from Aussie Open and AEW colleague, Kyle, who's excited. He just went crazy, and he's just screaming the moves and yelping and whatever, and it was entrancing. And the job of the commentator there was get out of the way,
Yeah.
right? There was no point competing with him. This was just this incredible access. But equally, we could never, as regular commentators showing a show, go out and do that, right?
Yeah.
So you've got to try and find something that's adding to the drama, helping tell the stories, convey what we feel in the room. There are things I think Rose and I are getting, pretty adroit at, which is if they're chanting, we're not talking. Pretty seamlessly having a relationship with the ring announcer so we don't talk over those things. And there is that you get reps in and you kind of know when to talk to each other. And there's actually that classic thing. I'm trying to make some incredible insight and there's a pin and Rose has to come in over the top of me. And that's actually good commentary. That's not people talking over the top of each other. That's the way I think it should be. And it's an absolute thrill and a pleasure to do it. It really is so much fun.
Yeah, it sounds like you're having a ball, which is a great thing for me because I like that when I hear that. It's
I,
really nice.
I've never not had a ball doing it, and it's also kind of precious. I mean, we're not on a grueling schedule here, but I've had some other opportunities to call house shows and things like that. But Black Label, we're looking at 6 to 8 a year.
Yeah,
They're the ones that are getting live streamed all around the world. So you really, you lift. You really get the butterflies. You want this to be good, and you relate to the wrestlers in the way they want to relate to you. Some don't really want to talk to you prior. Some are keen to chat, and we take what we get, and we collaborate on what's a good result, I believe.
indeed. You mentioned the aforementioned Carl Fletcher in there.
Yes.
I want to talk to him about it briefly. Obviously, I always saw him as part of Aussie Open. I'd never seen Carl on his own wrestle. It was like when Mark Davis unfortunately got injured, obviously on AEW, that is. Carl Fletcher come into his own, and he's now, in my opinion, well, I mean, if he's not in the conversation for a world championship, he should be, like, as in the AEW world championship. He should
Yes.
be in the next 12 to 18 months. Having sit with, because obviously Carl's from Australia and you've had him at PWA a few times, was that something that was always a part of him that you could always see happening, or was it always a tag team side of him?
That's a really interesting question. Back in the archives, and if you go onto the Pro Wrestling Australia YouTube channel, you can find two incredible matches pre-COVID between the Velocities and
Yes.
Aussie Open, one of those matches did actually make significant waves internationally. I saw more of Kyle than Mark. When Kyle was back in town, he would come to, we might be doing a modest house show somewhere. So I got to know him a little bit better. I guess what I saw in him was the ability and the wherewithal to do I'm going to throw everything up in the air and I'm just going to go. Right? He's extremely, it's hard to believe, but it's often the way, isn't it? It's extremely softly spoken.
Yeah,
And I would describe him as an incredibly sweet man. But there was a sort of a through line there where this is what I want to do, and I'm not going to rely on other people to do it for me. And so, they go as a tag team, and as happens so often, there's a bump in the road, and he just pursued it. Now he's part of the Don Callis family. And as I asked him on commentary, I said, what's a Don Callis family Christmas like? It must be something different. Kudos to him. And he certainly did the Grayson Waller thing, which and other wrestlers who are alumni as I do. They turn the lens back on us. They rep us all the time. He was unscheduled at that show to appear. Not only did he appear, he sat on a commentary for the balance. And then, as we all know, we had 8 or so wrestlers at the Ring of Honor pre-show at AEW, and Tony Khan in the building and repping the company and all that sort of thing. That doesn't happen unless, I think, promoters see the attitude that these alumni have to where they came from.
Yeah.
And as I keep going back at the heart of that, I think it's the quality and caliber of the training and the people at the Pro Wrestling Academy that gives us the ability to do good shows. And Kyle always put on great shows when he wrestled prior going, and those Aussie Open Velocities brace of matches are unforgettable.
I see the Velocities over here. They done a thing over here. This was a good few years ago, when the podcast was just getting started. I was just dipping my toe into the water of being sort of working in wrestling promotion over here in the UK.
Right. Yep. Ignite, is that right?
Yeah, it's right. Yeah,
Great.
exactly.
Yeah, I've checked out what you do. It's great. It's true.
Yeah, thank you. They were a team that we were looking to bring back, or bring into Ignite. It's never materialized at the moment, as of yet, anyway. But we were looking at it. As we were reaching out to them, they were just coming back. So they just finished off what they were doing, and they'd already gone back. So hopefully we'll see them in the future over here. But
I remember they wrestled in Italy in one of their European joints, and then they subsequently went to New Japan. I mean, they're also a paradigm for what you can be these days physically as a wrestler. I mean, neither of them would be what the general public would expect to meet the mugshot of a professional wrestler. Obviously, incredibly, as is their name, fast, gymnastic in their ability, but also incredible wrestling still. If you want to understand the Velocities in a weird way, you go back to 2023 Coliseum and see their individual matches against Zack Sabre Jr. To understand who they are. And then when you put them together, it is Mercury. It's lightning in a bottle. And We're only just wondering now, though, where to for the Velocities. They had a tilt at North Shore Wrestling, who is the best faction in probably all professional wrestling, in my
Yeah.
uneducated view. They didn't get there. It'd be interesting to see what happens next for the Velocities, because maybe they do need to be invited back over to the UK, because their identity is a little bit lost at the moment, Adam.
Mm. Well, we'll be happy to have them. Ignite, that's for sure. We've got a few teams that we could put them against. CPF comes to mind. Would be an incredible match for them. But look, we'll have a couple more questions, and then we'll wrap up with
Please.
one last question. So the couple of other random questions. This one I did ask Rose, so you may be ready for this. Table for free. You can have three people
Yep.
at a dinner table to talk wrestling. Who are you having?
I did think about this. First would be Antonio Inoki.
Yep.
For a couple of reasons. As I said, when wrestling was in the doldrums, as a very young boy, I remember the Ali Inoki match, that hybrid match where Inoki just lay on his back and kicked Ali's legs incessantly. And it was like a satellite event, and it was had such an impact. I believe that Queen Elizabeth II subsequently met Ali not long afterwards and inquired about the health of his legs. And then to learn about Inoki's connections to North Korea, and that time when they took the promotion into Pyongyang, and then obviously, New Japan, he's sadly gone. But for me, to understand more about the Inoki story, he's a man of mystery and a huge, huge figure in professional wrestling, which would be underappreciated. So I would love to have him at the table. I've already mentioned Jesse Ventura.
Yes.
To me, he was just, he gave me a lot of my tools in terms of not seeing what people were seeing. I mean, Bobby Heenan was great at that as well. I don't know what you're talking about. And North Shore Wrestling is accused of all sorts of heinous acts, which I'm there. I've got a monitor. I'm not seeing it. But Ventura was great about that. He went into politics. I'm not saying our politics are the same, but he's done, he acted, all those things. But for me, I don't think I'm sitting here today without Jesse. And then the other one I just thought was, I recently sort of worked my way through the WWE Legends documentaries. The last one is of Becky Lynch, and I got a book, so I'm not watching it until I've read the book.
Yeah.
But it was actually Trish Stratus.
Okay.
Because she was, very much, I think, selected because of that diva mentality. And by the way, Nikki Van Blair and Prima Pi Kappa will not hear a word against the diva era. She loves the diva era, one of our great tag team wrestlers. But Stratus ended up, I think, much maligned originally. And yet now, in retrospect, people really respect what she was able to achieve as a wrestler.
Yeah.
And her story kind of strides that change. And if we look at where women's wrestling is now, to even where it was 8 years ago when Rose and I first stumbled into PWA, I think she's a real pioneer of that. So I think that would be a pretty interesting table.
I think so. That'd be interesting. First time I've heard Inoki and Ventura. I'm not sure if I've had Trish before. I'd have to take a look at back through the questions. Final question, and then we'll wrap up with one last question that's not random, which will be, if you could have a band play you out at a PWA show or any show, what band would it be?
I mentioned the Spinners, the Rubber Band Man with Sam Osborne, and there's that part of my personality that wants to be obscure. But right now, it's the straight answer, and that is the band Ghost.
Okay.
Ghost are essentially Sweden's metallic answer to modern ABBA. Tobias Forge writes incredible tunes. He's witty. I love the imagery. There's a song called Kaiserian, I think, which a couple of people might have used as entrance music. But there are just all sorts of aspects of Ghost that I like, because it has a wrestling feel, but the tunes are to die for. So it'd definitely be Ghost.
Ghost, indeed. Well, look, last question now. Locked in the Cage was obviously the culmination of what was an incredible, I mean, you even said in a commentary, decade really, between Jessica Troy, Charlie Evans. Obviously teamed up over here at Wrestle Queendom a couple of days later.
Just freezing.
Oh, okay. Is that better? Am I back? Am I back, or am I there now?
Oh, we're back.
Oh, great.
Yep. Great.
Jessica Troy, Charlie Evans, massive feud. It's over a decade. Wrestled Queendom. They come a couple of days later and wrestled as a team over here. But talk me through that. You were there for the majority, or pretty much all of this between these two.
Yeah.
From a commentator's eye, just talk me through that feud as a whole.
We talked about Fudge and Jake and
Yeah.
Aaron's contention that best friends can wrestle each other. And I think that's true. And that was demonstrated several years ago when Jess and Charlie, or Chevs as she's now referred to, had a death match in the Factory Theatre, the same venue. And that is a particular interest of Chevs. I
Yeah.
mean, she definitely sees the performance art aspect of wrestling, and this deathmatch thing, which is not my main focus. Uh, she likes to pursue that. So she invites her best friend into that, and they have a ding dong match, and they still hug at the end of it.
Mm.
Right. So we've seen for years the quality of the friendship, which didn't mean they couldn't be opponents, and it would be completely valid. Where this all started was at Coliseum, because people sometimes forget. They go, yeah, Jessica Troy won Black Fang from memory. That was the name of the
Yeah.
Coliseum sword. But she also defended a heavyweight championship through the 3 rounds of the tournament. So she put a belt on the line in each of those three. And in the first round, she beat Charlie, but she beat her by a roll up.
Yeah.
And Jess, as I said, the arm collector, it's the Fujiwara armbar all the way. The fact that Jess won with a conventional move like that, Jess was genuinely insulted, like
Yeah.
genuinely insulted. And then when you've got a persuasive, handsome, athletic, well-to-do, financially very viable group like North Shore Wrestling, and they come knocking, no surprise that Chevs sees that pathway, assaults Jess at the end of Coliseum at this incredible moment of dual triumph, defending her championship belt and winning the sword. And it all goes south from there. It's when you talk about it now, you actually get the pit in your stomach,
Mm.
because the objection was real. You're my best mate, and you don't beat me the way that you've established. You take a cheap
Yeah.
opportunity when you saw it. You're better than that. And it's been, every time we make the commentary, because the crowd, as you say, is normally going off and having a great time and
Yeah.
whatever, it goes pretty quiet during those matches.
Mm.
And last Wrestle Standing last year, where Chevs won the belt, not with the assistance of North Shore Wrestling, in my professional opinion. And then In a Cage. And In a Cage is a match that's a bit like a wine. It needs to age a bit. So I think if you go
Yeah.
back and watch it a week or two later, you really realize how good it was. The crowd is a bit hushed because they just know that this is such a turn. And to describe that, you're describing your own discomfort, because if they can fall out, anyone can fall out. So as a commentator, you're trying to give an insight as to where things can genuinely go wrong. And, I understand they went and wrestled in Indigo at the O2 subsequently, and they put some nice photos up, but I'm not sure that this is repaired. There was a look at each other at the end of In a Cage, which we took notice of and gave account to. But I don't think you can go through the last 2 years and what they've gone through and just go, it's all sweetness and light. So, I worry about them, and hopefully in the commentary, we've seen that correctly and we've shared that perspective.
Yeah, you certainly did. I mean, is it over? I suppose that's a question for another day, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think it's a really, really valid question, because I like the purity of it. It was In a Cage. There were no interventions. They showed no interest in climbing out. It had to be by
Nothing.
pinfall or
Yeah.
submission. But it feels like 2-1 to me. Like in this, fracturing of the relationship. Like, yeah, I just feel that Jess in the key moments has prevailed. It's only in that heavyweight defense where she has not prevailed. And so I don't know. That's a long flight back from Europe. Ches might have a think about exactly what went down. And look, we'll be watching with incredible interest, because we're at a time when North Shore Wrestling only holds one belt of the 3 PWA belts. And
Mm.
I find that really, really odd. And I think Chevs is the way to improve that situation quick, smart.
Just how good is Chevs for people who don't really know
Rose was absolutely right. She's a charming, generous person in my experience. She um, it's often a cliche. Oh, you know, they love pain or whatever. Seems to really like pain, Chess. And there is a commitment to the craft. The on whatever earnings are, the commitment to her appearance, the outfits, the skill level, the understanding of what her character is and what she's capable of. I did once make a remark, I think, on commentary. Every time I watch Charlie Evans, I learn something about professional wrestling, and I stand by that. And I think you guys have said surely she's signed, and that's in PWA. We're wanting to build a viable wrestling business so you can work professionally in Australia sustainably, and that's going to be about vision relationships and things like that in the future, streamers, whatever. But the other thing is, it's valid for us when people go to these big promotions. It's absolutely validating, and Des would more than validate us if she moves to the next level.
She did. I think it's a matter of time before Chevs gets there. I hope so, anyway.
Probably before you and I talk, Adam. I hear you're coming out with Michael and joining us at some stage, so we'll make sure you have a fantastic time.
I'd love to
I got plans to get to Europe next year, so I'll definitely hit you up.
Meet up for a pint.
Not for a house or anything, just grab a beer or something.
Grab a beer, exactly that. But look, Kris, as we finish off now, just to let people know, we mentioned about the May show, but what else has PWA got coming up this year?
Okay, so the two big announced Black Label shows dropped out at the Liberty Hall, live on YouTube. Follow us on hashtag PWA Live on X or on the YouTube chat. That's on May 29. And then on the 4th of July, it's the King of the Metro Rumble.
Yes.
And that's at the Metro Theatre, which is an iconic rock and roll theatre in the guts of the Sydney Central Business District. It is a rollicking good time. And we all know Rumbles. I always say they're like a greatest hits compilation. Yeah. But I think we're really good at telling stories within the story.
Mm.
And you, for example, if you go back to the last Rumble, the Tuckman who'd just been assaulted by Robbie Eagles to lose the Solar PWA belt several months prior, Tuckman came in at number 1, and at one stage he was about to be eliminated, and Scott Green self-sacrificed himself to create a pathway that took Tuckman to that Solar PWA championship in what was our best match of the year against Robbie Eagles. So what happens in the Rumble has ramifications that can go on for months and months and months. Plus, it's a great time. Plus, you can get the odd celebrity in there, and we've had a lot of fun with that. Sometimes they end up being wrestlers. Social influencer, an all-round great guy, Lockie McIntyre.
Yeah,
literally was almost like you could say manager, but like a valet for a wrestler called Reese Angel in a Rumble, and now he got to the semi-finals of Coliseum, which all wrestling fans were thrilled with, Adam, to see a rookie like Lockie McIntyre. And look, he's handsome, he's jacked, he can do a runner. He's the future. So the Rumble. And PWA does other things. We do a series of festivals. We've got a local bowling club that have been helped build a disabled access ramp, and the next one will be in a month or so time, called Rampage 2. So we operate at a number of levels. For the international audience, such as your audience, catch us on YouTube May 29 and July 4.
Make sure that you do. I'll be checking it out again. So I'll be with my number 2 and 3 shows already in the book. But look, as we finish up now, coming out this week, we have the wonderful AJ Francis from TNA Wrestling, and apart from the soccer team, it was good. Apart from the soccer team he supports, we're okay.
What team is that?
He supports Arsenal.
Where are they at the moment? They're somewhere good, aren't they?
They're top. Unfortunately, yes. They are. Where I grew up in Tottenham, so you can imagine that's.
Oh goodness me! But look, Ange, we gave you a title and you sack him, and now you got a point against Liverpool, so you're just above relegation. Yeah. But goodness me, it's tough times for Spurs.
Not good at all. But we got the big Sydney Melbourne game this week as well on Wednesday.
Yes.
Rose will be there, I believe. Anyway,
he'll be there.
Yeah, but released on the
tonsils.
Yeah, exactly that. Released on the show this week. We've got an independent showcase in from the UK, an alternative wrestling world guy, Victor, will be on here as well. Victor Ron. And coming up later on this week, being about video will drop with an old ECW favorite of Sign Guy Dudley. We'll be going through his
Wow.
ECW memoirs and then recording very, very soon. From PWA, we're going to have Robbie Thorpe will be on the show.
Well, he might claim he's Melbourne City Wrestling. What a preternaturally handsome man Robbie Thorpe is. Calls himself the gift, and I know many people that would like him under their Christmas tree come Christmas time. So they enjoy that. And look, some would accuse him of arrogant. I just think that's self-confidence. That's what I would say.
Looking forward to speaking. Yeah,
and having missed out on Coliseum twice, he might be third time lucky next year. Who knows?
I will mention that. I don't know about the response, but I'll mention that he missed out twice on it. See what he says.
Yeah. To a reality TV star in Scott Green, that must really gall.
That must be indeed. But also, you mentioned them quite a lot. The Osbournes from North Shore Wrestling.
Yes,
will be coming on the show soon as well. So we're looking forward to that. And
those boys are fantastic. I don't know if you saw them when they were getting ready for their title defense. They got some reps in playing golf, and they actually played golf wearing the belts.
Yes,
which I think everybody should investigate as a training thing. If you got Will Keatis as well at some stage, you're really cooking, because he was once interviewed by one of our best known people in the news game, Carl Stefanovic, because that was ostensibly Will's hero. And then when he was finally with Stefanovic, Carl goes, "I believe I'm your hero." And he goes, "Well, you were, but I think about it. I'm an anchor man and a professional wrestler, so I'm twice as good as you." So get hold of Will Keatis and his golden esky, and you'll have a good time, as well as the Osbournes. And please give my love to them. They don't really know who I am, and I do one day hope I can actually get to the Sydney North Shore. I tried to get in once, and they had a look at my bank account, and I was refused entry. But one day I'll get there.
One day you will. And then coming actually after the next show, we're going to have Ref Rach will be on after Fresh.
Ref Rach did a fantastic job in a cage, and she's been becoming a PWA staple over the last 18 months. And my only concern is that it'll be clear if you got colour TV there over now, haven't you?
Yeah.
She has raven-coloured hair, and I'd hate to see her be influenced by the Brotherhood of Redheads Against Negative Ginger Abuse, aka the Brotherhood of Ranger. So just keep an eye out. The referee Rach stays the course, because we need great referees like her in the green and black.
We do indeed. And then finally, returning to the show for the fourth time, I now get to call him Uncle Eric. Eric Bischoff will be back for the fourth time on the show. We were looking forward to seeing Eric back.
I don't know if this has come up. I mean, I could talk for hours about that Who Killed WCW documentary series. I thought it was incredible, because you got the corporate side, you got the Turner execs, and you got Russo going, "It's a television show." But he's doing a podcast with an Indian gentleman called Bharat Sundaresan, who's a well-known cricket journalist in Adelaide. And they had this odd meeting, and so their podcast covers cricket and pro wrestling, with Bischoff knowing nothing about cricket, whereas Bharat knows both forms. And it's called Stumps and Bumps, which is not a bad name. So ask Uncle Eric about that. He's doing his bit for the Australian scene, which we appreciate.
I am going to write that down. It's a header. So I'll get it. I'm talking about Real American Freestyle as well, which has got a television deal in the US now, apparently. So lots to talk about with Eric when he comes on. You can follow PWA. Obviously, PWA is pretty much everywhere. So Instagram, Twitter.
Yeah, just search Pro Wrestling Australia, YouTube, which is a good inventory of the shows. Instagram is the best place to follow us now. I think it's a little bit more dynamic than Facebook. And then we have a website which presents challenges for all small independent organizations. It's fantastic. You can see all the roster. Sometimes you'll see an ad for a show that's already been gone, but it's another place to look. But I would really recommend Insta these days. It's at PWA Australia from memory, because you see all the promos fresh. So when they're made, they're fresh, and the lead up to shows is really, really interesting. There's some incredible stuff. One of our stars, who did team up with Mana Manouche, Cassidy, She was the host of that first night of Coliseum. So, she did a Belinda Carlisle number from memory, but she did all sorts of things like travel information, best way to get to the show. There's some really entertaining and engaging content. And it's also a place where you can see the very, very quixotic and somewhat tragic documentation over the last 18 months of the non-friendship between Aaron, Jake, and Big Fudge. It's a difficult viewing, so have some tissues with you.
Indeed, indeed, indeed. And lastly, our championship match has been announced for Ignite May the 3rd. Our champion and Grand Slam champion now, Chris Aries, or Mr. Happy as I call him, because like the comet, he smiles once every 2,000 years. He will be making his first defense of that championship against very good up-and-comer Denzel Mack. We'll have all the fallout from everything that happened during the last show, which spilled into the foyer, unfortunately, at the end.
Right.
So we'll have all of that with CJ Carter, the general manager, and the former heavyweight champion, Taylor James. Go to 96 Eventbrite, type in the end game. Tickets will be there, and you can find us at HTT Buckle everywhere. Chris, it's been wonderful talking to you.
Well, look, Adam, it's such an honor. Thank you very much for the coverage. We really, really appreciate it. Thank you for having me on Separate to Rose. That was a very good idea. And look, I don't know what the Ignite management is, but like they're goons at PWA, the management. They're just complete goons. The fact that they can't provide you guys couldn't provide a secure foyer for people to go out and buy their popcorn and their Coke Zeros and whatever. I mean, this is something professional wrestling really needs to look at.
It does. It does.
Because all sorts of consequences. But I look forward to that heavyweight match. And the first title defense is always the difficult one. Just ask Big Fudge, but he got through it.
He did. Will Chris Aries get through it? We have to find out. You have to be there. Buy yourself a ticket to get there. But for Kris Gale, I've been your host, Adam Cousins. You've been watching the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. And until next time, everyone, buckle down, stay safe, and goodbye.